News reporting. British Airways pilots, they called off a planned 24-hour strike in their dispute with the airline over pay. They were due to walk out on September 27th. No word on their next move. More of these stories at townhall.com. I'm John Scott.
The following is an America Matters media production. The views expressed do not necessarily represent those of the station or its advertisers, although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
Welcome to Talking Truth to Power, Nevada's Freedom Talk Radio. I am your host, Brennan Trainer, my co-host, Leland, Faegre, and we're going to ask you now to stop playing your record players and pay full attention to what we have to say today, because your kids should hear it too. I think. Sometimes we get a little racy here, but I think they can.
Yeah, we would have to be careful with what we say here.
Yeah. So, how was your drive today down from?
Oh, it was magnificent. The transition is well underway. My thoughts were rain, rainbows, and raccoons.
Okay.
In that order, because raccoons are very active this time of the year. We had rainbows on my way out through Cave Rock in that direction, and we had snow on Monday. Nice amount of snow, you know. It's very, very nice. So.
Okay. Well, let's get on with the show. There's quite a bit to talk about, and I don't know. What should we lead with? I mean, there's so many things we could lead with, and
there is.
It seems like the Democratic debate is already old news, and you know, there was no change in the status quo.
Was there ever any news that came out of it?
Yeah, I know. I mean, Castro was burned because he attacked Bernie and for his ageism. And
the most desperate of the Democrats,
yes,
at the bottom of the pile, are trying to come up with something to give themselves some space, some breathing space, and some money. And they're embarrassing themselves. Robert O'Rourke was the first to do that, but now it's, you know, the remainder.
Speaking of Slenderman, that was the name I used for him, because he's got those long arms that are just reaching out to grab the innocent and pull them in. He killed his Texas Senate seat chances, and probably even dog catcher. I don't think he can run for office in Texas after this.
I think he's politically finished.
Yeah, maybe if he moves to New Jersey, he can pull this off.
New Jersey, yeah, they'd accept anybody there, huh?
Anybody, yeah. And they're one of the most gun control oriented states in the union. But so, and then Amy Kay was, you know, she was telling jokes with that little
K as in
Klobuchar, yeah, Klobuchar. You know, she was telling jokes with that silly little mom smile, like the kind of joke you tell at a PTA meeting and people laugh politely at you. And Kamala showed she had no comedic timing or delivery. She fell flat in everything she said. And, you know, I understand that even her high-priced Hollywood attorney husband can't
save her.
Can't save her. He's not getting the donations she thought she would get when she moved to L.A.
Well, Tulsi finished her.
Yeah, I think so.
She just roped that dope, and there was nothing left of her after that. And it was well deserved.
Oh yeah,
she had it coming.
Oh yeah, there's plenty of evidence that she, you know, was a bad prosecutor. That she had no respect for civil liberties. That she constantly defended the police when they didn't deserve defending. That she wanted inmates to work for, you know, work for the state for peanuts. And even when it was declared that they couldn't do that, she continued to fight for it. And of course, she is the one that, as far as I'm concerned, is her crusade against Backpage and their sex ads that started off another wave of hysteria over sex trafficking, even though the court struck her down every time.
Did you see that the FDA has come up with some sort of a remedy for people who suffer from peanut... you know, what allergies, I guess?
Peanut allergies?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No.
You mentioned peanuts, and it just made me
okay. Well, I mean, I heard that they finally found a cure for the common cold, but I'm not I'm not waiting.
Not holding breath.
Yeah, not holding breath. But at any rate, so, nothing much has changed. Elizabeth Warren got a crowd of 20,000, but it was in New York City. They're going to vote Democrat anyway.
There's that many people in any square, block area up there.
Yeah, I know.
You go walk down the streets in Midtown, and there's that many
20,000
people on the way to your
walk
first
on the
traffic
street.
light. Yeah.
So, and then she fumbled the question about tax increases for her numerous statist programs and
Didn't
and
Colbert?
plans.
Colbert
Colbert asked her, and she kind of dodged the question.
Yeah.
Costs will go up for the rich, and they will go down for the middle class.
Well, that's the toughest question I've ever heard out of Colbert.
Yeah, I know. He is generally, of course, bends over back. He attacked Tulsi.
Oh, yeah,
He attacked
that's
Tulsi
right.
for her going over to see Assad. and
That
everything.
is correct.
Yeah. So
revealing just what side he's on.
Exactly. Yeah. I wish these Catholic news people in this country would pay attention to the Pope and his anti-war. If they pay attention to his left-wing climate change programs, but they don't seem to pay attention to his
They always
anti-war.
listen to the wrong message.
Yeah. All right. So the other thing that is in the news, of course, is the attack on the Saudi oil.
There was an attack on the Saudi oil reserves?
It was in the news.
Huh.
I'm sorry you missed it. And there was 11 different strikes, and we went over there. Pompeo immediately blamed the Iranians. He just... what can you expect? And then Trump said we're locked and loaded, but again, he said that to fire and fury. And then he said he has a very good relationship with the Iranians. He has a personal relationship.
Does he?
That's what he said.
Huh. It's like birthday cards and that kind of thing.
I don't know. I have not seen any kind of personal relationship.
Yeah. Trump says he's open to meeting with him at the UN next week.
Okay, well, we'll see.
But we'll see about that.
Yeah, I mean, they want Iran to be, quote, a normal country, unquote. And but Pompeo listed 12 demands that no sovereign nation would ever abide by. It's the same type of demands that Saudi and the UAE put on Qatar a couple of years ago. And Qatar just ignored them, and Iran is going to ignore them. I mean, their people are starving, and that's for sure, and they're dying because of lack of medication. But they're not going to topple the government, and they're not going to give in.
And we'll be back after these messages.
Home at Last opens doors to family, to freedom, to finally making it yours. Home at Last, a program of the...
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now, back to the show.
Hello, welcome back to Talking Truth to Power, Nevada's Freedom Talk Radio. And this is your host, Brennan Trainer, and my co-host, Leland Faegre, and we're here discussing the important events of the last week from I guess what we would call a libertarian populist point of view. And if you would like to have us also promote your business in a talk-friendly way, we're open to having new sponsors. Of course,
We are?
Yeah, I think
okay.
so.
Okay.
But, you have to be a little bit courageous because we push the envelope here sometimes.
And we get into the weeds.
And we get into the weeds sometimes,
So
too.
we push envelopes
and venture into the weeds.
So, yeah.
But if you have a business and you're a patriot and would like to get help get the truth out, we would welcome your call. You can call us here at and speak to the people, the good people here. And one of the numbers is the talk number I have in front of me, 844-790-TALK.
8255. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. 8255 is talk.
Okay.
Yeah.
All righty. So we were talking about the attack on the Saudi oil fields. Now, let me make this. I think that we have to stop making this false dichotomy that economic war is not war. And I see this happening. I mean, this is another loss of freedom and a loss of responsibility, because I think 10, 15 years ago, nobody would make this false distinction that boycotting and blockading people in order to prevent them from getting life-saving medicines and food was considered to be warfare. And
I think they've always gotten away with it, haven't they?
I
don't think they've ever made a distinction, and that's why they keep using it.
I think a lot more people would have made the distinction in the past. Maybe I'm wrong. And then that's even worse, because the distinction should be made.
And I think that's why they get away with it over and over again. Is no one ever makes that distinction properly. At least the media does not.
Right. So we have, in other words, in my opinion, we have declared war on Iran. We're in a warfare state. Just because it's not kinetic and we're not actually shooting at each other is besides the point. And Iran has said if they can't export oil through the Gulf of Hormuz, nobody can. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was Iran or an Iranian proxy that did this. I'm not discounting that it was the Houthis. Just because they live so far to the south, they could have easily driven through that open desert without being detected.
Because these projectiles came from the north.
Yeah, they're on the northwest or something, yeah.
And so there was obviously a defense issue here. They were not prepared for the source of those projectiles.
Or
was it deliberate?
Right. Or it could have been through Iranian-friendly people in Iraq. That did it. It could even have been Al-Qaeda. We don't really know. But so, they put forward evidence that these missiles had to be Iranian, but even if they were Iranian, other people can get their hands on them. So we don't really know that the Ayatollah ordered it. But even if he did, we have to admit to the fact that we are at war with Iran, and it's like the what was the original war in World War II, where England declared war on Germany and did nothing for a year?
They almost had to be reminded they were at war.
I know. But it's still war, and they are desperate in some sense, but in another sense, they're proud. They're a 4,000-year-old Indo-European civilization, and they're not going to buckle under and accept demands that no other country would accept. That's my bottom line that I see it. So they're capable of waging asymmetrical war, and this was just a taste. I mean, if we actually went to war with Iran, they could fire missiles at our military bases. They could fire missiles at the Saudi oil refineries. This was just a...
But that wouldn't take long.
Yeah, and it wouldn't.
The reaction time would be pretty quick.
And if they could even fire missiles at Israel. I mean, and so this is something that we have got to stop the war on Yemen. We have to do something positive. Trump has to get them together, even if he doesn't do it publicly after vetoing the bill from Congress that told him to stop supporting the war in Yemen.
Well, Rand Paul has made a statement to the effect that we need an armistice, a ceasefire.
Right.
And it needs to happen straight away.
Right.
So that, it's the obvious thing to say, but it does need to happen,
And, this also reveals that every time the president says that we have the greatest military in the world, we just spent $700 trillion on our military, it doesn't make a difference.
$700 trillion?
Yes. Well, practically speaking. All right, $700 billion.
That's a lot of money. When sooner or later, you're talking about real money.
Yeah, no. That's Bernie's climate change proposal.
Right.
I'm sorry, I got them mixed up.
That's right. A lot of people make that mistake.
But $700 billion doesn't mean anything if it's spent on the most inefficient and outdated equipment. The military is always fighting the last war. And now we have Russia. Putin has been calling people up and trolling them a little bit. He called President Trump up, and during the conversation, he offered to sell him some of their new hypersonic missiles. And Trump said, "We already have those, but we don't. We don't. But
apparently they are in formation. They are
Yeah,
developing them.
even
but
if they get one
we're well behind.
testable.
Yeah, we're well behind.
Yeah, that would still be only a first generation. So what Russia has done is they have completely checkmated the whole Star Wars, survival or strategy of the United States. They've made our aircraft fleets that we have 12 major aircraft groups, and one like the Gerald Ford is like a super air carrier group, and they have negated them. I mean, they're just sitting ducks now. Even Iran said, when we put aircraft carriers in the region, Iran said they're not a threat, they're a target. Mm-hmm. And, we just have the wrong strategy. And Pat Buchanan has been talking about this for a long time.
He had a great article this week on this subject.
Yes. He usually
Locked
does.
and loaded.
Yep. So... and nobody is talking about as George Bush once called it, strategery.
Strategery.
Yeah. And
Russia uses that to this day. He still uses the verb.
So, I mean, why should we be proud of spending hundreds of billions of dollars, excuse me for saying trillions, but hundreds of billions of dollars when Russia has outfoxed us and checkmated us with 10% of our budget? And Bernie Sanders says America is the wealthiest country in the world when we're $23 trillion in debt, and that's probably a conservative figure.
Well, this is because they don't know where money comes from.
Yeah.
So they don't even count that.
Yeah.
It's not part of the algorithm.
And, Russia does not have an economy the size of Italy. It's more like the size of Germany. It's become much more respectable since Putin took over. But they have... I read an article today that Russia has announced that they could pay off all their sovereign, corporate, and private debt in cash right now if they wanted to. They are completely solvent.
What was the source of that?
Well, it was probably Russia Today. It's probably one of those, websites that it's illegal for us to look at, according to Chris Cuomo. We can't look at the WikiLeaks dumps because it's illegal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's probably preparing for catastrophic economic events. That would require that kind of solvency, because we are not clearly prepared for anything like that.
No, if we do get and I'm not sure whether I fall in the major recession is coming camp, but if we do get a major recession, it's going to hit hard, just like 2008 did, because American people are just not prepared for it.
They're
right. And the Fed is lowering interest rates again today.
Yeah, they're prepared to. Nothing had been announced, but I think that's an 11 o'clock event, so it probably has happened now.
Okay.
Yeah, it's always at 11 a.m. Pacific. So.
Okay. What do you think of that?
Well, it has to be done, but the marketplace should be making those decisions, not 12 governors of an anti-American socialist board of directors. And that's what we have.
Right.
The Federal Reserve should go away.
Exactly. It's centralized planning, and it's just another progressive era central planning, quasi-Marxist, quasi-free market entity that just does more harm than good and is responsible for most of the business cycle.
It's actually a plank in the Communist Manifesto.
Oh, sure.
Although they describe it, or would prefer it to be a government central bank rather than a private or a licensed central bank, which is what we have, but it's still a central bank.
Right.
Still central planning, no matter how you describe it.
Right, and 12 people do not have the knowledge or the incentives. Nor should they.
Yeah. Right.
To be able to, no matter how many supercomputers they have and how many programs they run, it's garbage in, garbage out. You don't, it's
and
only...
They use models quite a lot.
Econometric models, yes.
But you see, where Trump has missed an opportunity here is to push forward with the strategy to audit the Fed and ultimately to bring it to its knees. We don't know if there's gold there. We don't know anything about that body. It needs to go away and let the marketplace decide these things as it should.
Yes, and Tulsi Gabbard has actually signed on to the Rand Paul Audit the Fed bill. So
she did.
Yeah, so
to her credit, she did.
Yeah.
She's the only Democrat.
I think so.
I think has done that. We say that a lot about her, don't we?
Yeah. All right. Well, it's time. Our second segment is about over.
Yep.
We're talking to Victor from Precision Diamonds. Victor, where do I go to get...
Are you shy and don't want to talk on the air? Text us your questions or comments to 775-237-2266. Now back to the show.
Hello, welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. I am your host, Brennan Trainer, and my co-host, Leland Faegre, is here today. And we were going to talk a little bit about this amazing speech that President Macron made in Europe recently. And at the risk of exposing my intermediate French is even worse than I would think.
I'll give yourself a little credit on that.
The key sentence was, "Nous sommes sans doute en train de vivre la fin de la hégémonie occidentale sur le monde."
Christian, do you have any applause to go with that?
But what that means is we are undoubtedly experiencing the end of Western hegemony over the world.
We didn't get a lot of exposure to that statement here in the West.
I didn't hear any of the major news cover.
Yeah.
I don't even think the BBC gave it much thought there.
And that really is interesting. Because they cover that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So what he said was that the rule of the West over the world, the unilateral world is over.
Unipolar,
unilateral, yeah.
And, Putin said this a generation ago.
Oh, yeah.
After the fall of the Berlin Wall, he was making that point.
Well, yeah, but started making it in 1996 when he gave a speech in Munich.
Right.
Yeah. But now the Western Europe is beginning to catch up to him, and what he's saying is that, and after the G7 he's come to realize that never mind the G8, he's saying we have to think about China and India as being part of the new world order, and that's something that most of our Congress critters, maybe our president gets it, but I think most of our Congress critters don't get that at all.
I'm not sure what they get.
Yeah, no. So,
have you ever had a chance to just converse with any of these people? Have you ever gone to some sort of a presentation or wherever they appear and engage these people?
Yeah.
You just wonder, how the hell did they ever get there, most of them?
I know. Most of them are hacks, really.
Yeah. I
know. They work their way up through the ranks. Usually for the Democrats, it's usually the teachers' union, or both parties favor prosecutors, and then for the Republicans, it's usually the military, defense, and police establishment. And they work their way up through that, and when the time comes, they run for Congress without any real knowledge of what the heck they're doing.
They really don't.
No.
Yeah.
But at any rate, besides bashing the Congress, as 78% or more of Americans bash the Congress, so we're in good company there. But
they keep voting for him.
Yeah, I know. That's it. You can't get rid of your own congressman. You can blame everybody else.
Blame the other congressman, but my congressman, he's all right.
Yeah. He helped me get my Social Security benefits.
And I had a problem with something, and he came through. And
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So China is at the forefront, but he said also the Russian strategy, which has, it must be said, been pursued more successfully in recent years. What does that mean? It means no matter how many times they sanction Russia, Russia just keeps going along and actually expanding their economy. So the new economies are becoming powers, not only economic but political, and they think themselves, as some had written, a real civilizational state, which must now come to shake up our international order. And now again, you're not going to hear anybody else on this side of the Atlantic talk like this.
No.
No, so it's amazing. And
it is.
Yeah.
There's a deliberate attempt to dumb us down.
Right.
In the world stage, in the discourse of world stage events, and unfortunately, I don't see any change. You're going to have to listen to Talking Truth to Power, ladies and gentlemen, because you're not going to get it anywhere else.
I know. The idea that possibly, we're the ones that should be more like a normal country, and maybe we should actually engage Russia and China, maybe even join the new Silk Road, the Belt and Road Initiative, and
let government control our health care. I mean, there's a variety of ways that we could become more normal.
Well, yeah, we don't want to become normal in that way.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah,
but what I'm talking about is always talking about dominating. We have to dominate the world. We have to dominate the other economies. We have to dominate space.
You talk about the unipolar world again.
Yeah, everything is dominate. When you scratch the surface, when they say more than one or two words, you're going to hear the word dominate come out of all these people, that we have the right, because we are so exceptional, to dominate the world, and everybody else has to follow along with us.
It's shining light on a hill.
Now, he got rid of John Bolton, which is very good.
And replaced him with a non-CFR member.
Oh,
Robert,
okay. You did a little research?
I checked the list this morning. Robert O'Brien is not in the membership.
Oh, well, that's good. And he also comes from a different background, talking about hostages and so on. So that's encouraging.
Very.
Yeah.
And he claims to be close to him, in these kinds of issues, and he's supportive, and so I'm comfortable with the decision. It looks pretty good.
It looks good. Let's keep our fingers crossed, because they've got a major issue right now with Iran coming up. So
this must have upset, though, the CFR establishment.
Oh yeah.
They didn't pick, because every president in my lifetime has picked from the CFR for those roles, And even in Kissinger's case, he assumed the National Security Council role as well as the State Department role. And CFR was on both sides, so there was no room for error,
Yeah.
So he's not going in that way.
Nope.
And we should all be excited about that.
Yes, I am very excited to hear the news from you. I didn't have a chance to check his background, but you went right to the CFR roles.
This morning, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Upon the announcement.
I
pounce on that membership list.
Well, you Google Council on Foreign Relations.
CFR.org. Yeah, and there's 5,000 members there, and they're all alphabetized.
Alphabetized.
So you can check the names and.
All right.
Yep.
Very good. That is very good news. So we have somebody that is not necessarily in the foreign policy neocon establishment, is now the new defense, national security advisor.
Director of National Security.
Yeah. So we're going to.
Very exciting.
Yeah. And Congress doesn't have to confirm him, right? That's not a cabinet level post.
No, that's right. I believe that's just
because I know they didn't confirm Bolton. I mean, they would have been.
I don't think he would have gotten through that.
Yeah. So all right. So let's hope that because one of my worries is that Donald just doesn't want to attack Iran because it would hurt his re-election chances, which it would. It definitely would hurt his re-election chances. I don't think his base would go for that at all. But then after he's re-elected, would he be more willing to engage, or would he continue on this path that we hope he is on now of non-intervention? So we need to see that.
Yeah, we might be waiting a while. But.
Yeah. Because I don't think the Democrats, based on what we've seen now with Joe Biden being accused by his own party of being basically senile, and let's face it, that's what they're accusing him of.
Yeah.
He has lost his memory, and he had that.
But he's avuncular.
Yeah.
So he's he's preferable to the rest of the loons that are behind him in the polls. So that's why he's managed to stay in that position of leadership there.
He had that classic battle with that dude Corn Pop and his crew at the swimming pool when they were in high school or something.
Heard about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how...
I wasn't there.
I know. I wonder what Corn Pop really looked like. I mean, he's probably this scrawny 16-year-old. And he said, well, he was wearing his pomade, and you can't have pomade in the pool without a bathing cap. So he said, hey, Esther Williams, get off the diving board.
That's right. And here's my chains.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's something. And all those 720 million American women who are going to, return to the workforce, which was one of his gaffes yesterday. 720 million women will come out of their roles in their domestic roles and go back into the workforce.
Boy, he's as bad as me. We're talking about hundreds of $700 trillion. But I'm not running for president, so yeah, 720 million women will come out of, go back to the workforce.
Well, the Democrats, the party itself is in an enormous state of confusion. They have no idea how they're going to deal with this, because Biden is the preferred candidate, given all of the ones that trail him. Mm-hmm. But then if he gets through the primary, it's a slam dunk for Trump. Of course, all of them will be beaten by Trump regardless. But he is the most, I believe, affable and unoffending candidate for the nomination that remains to be seen.
Yeah.
And I called that all along. I said it would be him, because they have no one else, unless there's someone off stage like Newsom or somebody like that wants to come into a brokered convention.
Oh, you mean wait until that time?
Yeah,
wow.
Saves a lot of money.
Yeah. And it has been done a few times before, but the way things are set up now, especially with the superdelegates, I mean, they don't have as much power as they had in the last election, but they're still there, and they can probably push Biden across if he needs them.
Right, but there's an aura of desperation about this whole process on that side of the aisle.
Oh, yeah.
The D doesn't stand for Democrat, it stands for desperation. They have no idea how this is going to play out. None of them do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. They're fighting for the soul of the party. I think that they made a deal with the devil a long time ago, and they're just trying to avoid the final collection.
Boy, the time flies. We're up against another hard break. See you on the other side.
Join the Funtime Theater this fall as we make the history of the Comstock come alive.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ,
a Lotus broadcast station.
The power of radio since 1967.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now back to the show.
Hey, welcome back to Talking Truth to Power. This is Brennan Trainor, your host, along with Leland Faegre, our co-host. And would you like to get into a little bit about the Brennan connection here?
Would I?
With the extraction.
I thought you'd never ask.
With the extraction of a CIA spy, a very highly placed spy. He could even photograph things that are on Putin's desk.
I think the proper term is exfiltration.
Exfiltration, yeah. So,
he was filtrated into the environment, and now he's being exfiltrated
out.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Scott Ritter, who's works a lot with the Ron Paul Peace and Prosperity Foundation, he has got a good article up on Consortium News, if anybody is interested, in which he says that this person, Oleg Smolenkov, was recruited. He was working in Washington on a soft power Russian job that was primarily cultural exchange. It was like a Russian State Department type of job.
What's his name again?
Oleg Smolenkov.
You have a cough button for that.
Okay.
Right under, if you need to.
Smolenkov. Okay. Yeah, so he was 31 years old, but he was a graduate of a very prestigious Russian university, and he had a kid, and he was worried that he felt he was underpaid, the poor man. So he decided to listen to the CIA and they recruited him with promises of advancement and financial money, which they apparently put into an escrow account, which enabled him to buy, using his own name, by the way, that $1 million home in Northern Virginia.
What was that name again? Oleg?
Smolenkov. It's not Badanov, it's Smolenkov. But anyway, so he did manage to rise through the Russian bureaucracy, and he was, at one time, he became an aide to Ukashov. Ukashov, all right, you can't make fun of these poor Slavs with
Not
all their
forever,
V's
but I can right now.
in their names and everything. But he...
so was he a double agent?
That's the question that we're raising.
Right.
Because, they're saying that he could photograph things on Putin's desk. But what could he photograph? I mean, basically, he could photograph itineraries and, minor things like that.
Yeah, that sounds like it came from our side.
Yes, that's what we said. We said that he was so high up he could photograph documents on Putin's desk. Yeah, he could, but they probably weren't very significant documents.
He emptied the wastebaskets.
Yes. Because he was simply an administrative aide. He had a second-level security clearance to this Ushakov, who was the real Russian advisor to Putin on foreign affairs, basically. So, but people also don't realize that the CIA was using a Google interface to communicate with their spies to get information and give them directions. And the Russians apparently managed somehow to find a leak or backdoor into that Google interface.
Huh.
And both Russia and China were rolling up our spies.
And rolling on the floor with laughter.
Yes, exactly.
This is not